Hello, Wolfpack. It's like 11 a.m. I'm scared. Anxious. Supposed to go to LA. At least that's what my dad told me. But we all know Maria and Bernardo have lied before. And I'm just scared they're gonna lock me up again. That's always my fear. Always. Anytime I go out. Or just exist. Especially going out in the car. Because I'm not driving. I don't know where we're going. I don't really know streets or anything. I just kind of exist, you know. Just been a passenger for a long time. And it's time I take the driver's wheel, you know. It's fucking time, but I guess maybe I'm scared of tapping into that power or that, what is that called? Standing in my power, you know, and just taking it all back, because I've been told for so long that I didn't have any power, right? Which, like, what was I gonna say? Oh, it reminds me of, like, this story someone said about an elephant. How it was tied up when it was little, and it grew up, but it still thought it couldn't escape, even though it literally grew. And it just stayed there, despite having the capability of being able to move. You know, it was more so a mindset of which was developed for the elephant, right? It was taught that it couldn't. So it received that as like fact and took it to be true. So even when it developed the capabilities of being able to leave, it's remained there. So it's kind of, it reminds me of Lauren Jauregui's song Invisible Chains. It was on the soundtrack for Birds of Prey, which is interesting because I listened to that track before even watching the movie, and I didn't realize that really until today. I was today years old. So yeah, that's interesting. Damn. But I hold so much fear in my heart and literally in my body, because, you know, our bodies hold energy. You know, we're literally energy. We're literally light and all this shit, and like 80% water, like Mother Earth is and shit. So we absorb energy from our outside forces and just throughout living. You know, just like muscle memory, we have traumatic memory, which is stored differently than regular memory. And there's just a lot that goes into all of this, which truly is fascinating, because it's like, wow, like, our existence is extremely intelligent. And for them to have made us think that we are not enough and that, I don't know, just all this shit, to think that we are worthless and that we have to depend on a system that literally, prejudices us and just is toxic, is funny to me, because we don't need them. So no wonder they go out of their way to promote themselves and everywhere. You know, like, for example, hospitales, right? They'd be like, oh, like, you need healthcare. How about you give us actual food and not genetically modified ones, or ones sprayed with a shit ton of chemicals? Yeah, I think maybe that's a good idea too. But it's okay. Y'all can spend $29 trillion to go into debt using your money on whatever. For example, the $1 million that are just sitting, $23 million that are just sitting out in Texas because Trump wanted to build a wall. And it wasn't built. That's fine. But just pay us $8 an hour, I guess, to fold jeans and shit, instead of giving us what we actually need. Just, like, why? For what? Why do y'all do everything? Like, I just find it funny how y'all really think you're this shit and whatnot. But if you were, you would have to prove it so much. You wouldn't have to go out of your way to put it on billboard signs and all over the news and all that stuff. People who brag about shit don't have shit. Or they're just highly insecure. Sure, they can have all this material wealth or what the fuck else. They're insecure and unhappy. I'm not trying to do that. Nor am I trying to spread a colonizer terrorist agenda. I'm just trying to be happy. And make the world a better place by starting with myself. So, man, y'all do your thing. I'm gonna do mine. Y'all stay safe, though. She will never love you. I'm obsessed with Tinashe's song Save Room for Us. I think it just popped up on like my YouTube feed. But specifically the YouTube version, because at the beginning she's just singing in like this empty storage unit, warehouse, whatever that shit is. And it sounds so nice. Like it's, I don't know if breathy is a word, but it just sounds very airy, whatever. They're words now. So it just sounds like that, and it shocks me, and it just moves me in the core. And the lyrics are just so beautiful, because it doesn't necessarily have to be about a romantic partner or anything like that. It could be about a friend, or it could even be about your younger self, which is the way I listen to it, at least now. So, yeah. Shit, I don't have cold water. This shit's hot. Please don't be too hot. At least it tastes good. I need honey, though. Okay. I'm gonna read the cards, because I got really scared going in the kitchen today. This is usually why I don't like going out there, because it's like, I always get more fear. And it's funny, because today I didn't wake up with anxiety like I usually would. And I don't know why. And for some reason, I'm like, am I okay? Is this healing? What happened? Why didn't I wake up anxious this time? But I didn't. And now I'm here, making this video. It's been 7 minutes. I've been recording for 7 minutes. That's a long time. But time doesn't even exist. Sometimes I'll just be recording and I didn't even pay attention to the time. And I'm like, oh shit. Sometimes I will, because like, you know, it takes a while to upload sometimes, so that's that. But like, you know, I went in, no one says anything to me. There's like a shit ton of people just surrounded at like this 9-person table. No one says anything, but a lot of them are kids, but still, there's still quite a bit of people. And then I come out and I just hear them like saying, who do they think they are, and this and that, and like, what else? They said, wait for their surprise tomorrow or something. And I was like, you know, I take things personally, I'm not gonna lie. Especially because, like, I've picked up being hyper vigilant after literally, specifically having been locked up so many times, but specifically the time I was locked up for 9 months. That one was tough. That was a long time. So it's just been hard for me to, like, not find everything to be wrong. You know, I look for the worst to happen, and I'm like, oh my gosh, am I gonna get locked up tomorrow? Is that why my dad said to go to LA? Because, you know, he made it more of a choice. He was like, do you want to go to LA tomorrow? Like, I have to do this and that. I was like, okay. So, yeah, now I'm gonna go, I guess. I don't know. I just know I feel scared. Until I've heard that, it was, like, scary. And then they said something about him in a month. But, you know, it could just be the hypervigilance and whatnot. I just feel like I find it hard to listen to intuition versus something that's fear-based or whatever. Because, you know, your body does react to abuse or certain environments, right? Everything's energy, so it all is constantly colliding and reacting and all that stuff at a scientific level, right? Quantum physics and all that shit. So, I don't know, it was just interesting. The only people I really smile towards are the kids. I don't greet anyone else. I don't care if you're elderly or older. If you have no respect for me, I'm not gonna go out of my way to kiss your ass. I'm good, thanks. Simply because you want to show dominance and be like, well, I'm your uncle, speak Spanish to me. I was raised here, and the fact that you're telling me to speak another colonized language, I'm okay. I would rather be speaking English, which at least there's the African American vernacular, of which a lot of people have used, of which who have been abused, right? Like Pidgin was developed in Hawaii, I believe Hawaii and other parts, right? Different forms in different islands. Like, I'm good. I'd rather speak this than speak a Spanish of which I have to think a lot harder to translate my thoughts because I think in English. And mind you, I still am. I do use quite big words, but in Spanish they're even bigger. At least the Spanish I learned, which I would like to say is because of my mom. But nonetheless, that's what I have developed. And maybe that's why I have a good English tongue as well. I don't know. Point is, I don't want to speak Spanish because someone wants to be an asshole about the fact that I speak English. I never asked him to speak English because, I'm aware that we are on native land, and maybe we should be speaking that language instead of another colonizer language. So if you want to go in terms of that, then why don't you learn the native language and then come back to me and we'll learn it together or something. Don't tell me to speak another colonizer language. Don't talk to me about decolonization when you're still speaking in the colonizer's language. Bobby Sanchez. I forgot what the song is called. I think it's Quechua 101? Landback 101? I don't remember. It's a good song. What the fuck? It's pretty though. I don't know what it got stained with. It looks like maybe candle wax. Oops. Whatever. Okay, anyway, I picked up a card. But it rhymes. And it also is a guardian card. It says, Water Guardian. Connect with your emotions. Oh my gosh, that's so fucking cool. Look at her hair. It's literally blue. I've been wanting to dye my hair blue for like the longest amount of time, but I've always had it in the back of my mind, or I've just been busy, or at some point I just shaved my head again in like October, and now it's like the end of January. I've been meaning to dye my hair, and like on TikTok, I kept seeing, so the reason I kind of don't want to do my hair or dye my hair is because like, I don't know, I just feel bad because, I just feel like it's cool that we have our hair, made the way it is, and like, it's just so beautiful, and like, I feel like I'd ruin it if I do dye it, because I don't know. I guess I'll just be honest, I don't know, I feel like I'd be not honoring my ancestors or whatever, and I'd be like disrespectful because I'm like, I don't know, ruining my hair or whatever. And it's funny because I'll support other people who do dye their hair, and I'll be like, oh, that's so cool, and I really want to as well, but I'm like, maybe I shouldn't. But I think it's also because I mentioned dyeing my hair to my mom, and she was like, don't do that, like, just wait till it grows out, and like, just dye the tips, that be blah 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 and this and that. Which, I don't know, I found stupid, and I still find stupid, because it's like, either way you're damaging the hair, whether it be your roots or not. And like, I don't know, I guess I'm also scared that it'll fuck up my curl pattern and shit. I'm just putting like coconut oil with essential oils in my hair. Yeah, so it's just, I don't know, I don't like it. It makes me feel afraid. But I don't know. Because I want to dye my hair because I feel like it'd look cool. And I love color. Like, color is my thing, I literally have a bunch of colorful tattoos. Like, I have 6 color tattoos. Only one of them is not. what's it called? A color tattoo, which is the scorpion. But I do mean to finish this because it's supposed to have a glowing outline. And to be honest, if like this one hasn't completely faded and it still has color, I think it'll be fine to finish this piece. As well as this piece here, which you can't see. I think I'd have to pull it up quite a bit more. Yeah. So, like, do the lettering. Because he just did the outline, like, he was busy that day, the tattoo artist. So he didn't get to finishing it because he was in a rush to get home and shit, but we already made the appointment. I was like, I can always come back another day. And he's like, no, it's fine. So that was nice, to be honest, also because it only cost like $40 to get that one done, but it has a lot of significance to me. So, yeah, it's just nice to like have that overall. So, that's that. I feel like I just have to get in touch with myself again. Because it's interesting, because when I was in middle school, I actually did dye my hair. I think it was, I've dyed it purple and pink, or I don't know if it faded to pink, but I've had, I've dyed my hair before and shit. And I had pretty long hair too, you know. I had, I've had ombre and shit. And then eventually, you know, I think I outgrew it or something. I don't know if I chopped the ombre off eventually when it like grew out a bit more. Because my hair was up to here before I cut it. So like my ribs. And when I was like 12, it could wrap around my neck twice. So yeah. That was cool. Um, so I guess I'm also scared because I really do want to grow out my hair. You know? Because I miss my long hair a lot. But I also have the same urge to just chop it off. But they're just, I don't know. It's curling really cute and I like it, you know? So that's one thing. But I just keep getting this message to pretty much do what I want and dye my hair. And I think it's mostly because I'm scared of judgment, like how I'll be perceived. Because I already have 7 tattoos. And then, like, I don't know, I've been wanting to get piercings too. I guess it's more so fear of perception. And maybe I'm just using the idea that I'd ruin my hair as, like, an excuse. When really, the depth of the fear is really, or the root of the fear would really be like the fear of being judged and perceived in a negative aspect or way, you know, and just feeling like I have a certain amount of weight on my shoulders or amount of stares or glares and all that shit. But you know, I always say this, they're all gonna talk shit anyway, they're all gonna say what they want to say. I need to love myself. That's Love Myself by Olivia O'Brien, one of my favorite artists. I have a lot of artists, but nonetheless, one of my favorites. Just, I love artists. I love music. So, yeah. I need to love myself. And it's interesting because despite, you know, I don't know. Because I make videos and, like, I'll make audios and, like, I'll write and all this shit. But I feel like lately it's still been difficult for me to get in touch with my emotions and really process them and, like, just be kind of like I'm just stuck in this loop of just fear and anxiety riddance, you know. Instead of Goodbye and Good Riddance by Juice WRLD, it's just anxiety ridden. So yeah. And I don't know, I just feel like it's been difficult for me to really process any emotion and just let myself be. Because I just constantly hold fear and I'm always hyper vigilant of thinking what the next thing is, which is funny because I've had quite a bit of readings. Alright, clicked on a couple of readings talking about that, alright? And being like, oh, just step back in your power, like, you know, I think that there was this one specific reading by Rosology. I don't remember which one it was, but she's a YouTuber. She said she pulled out two cards. One was like a desert card that said Visionary Quest or something like that, or Vision Quest, and the other card said Peace. Right. So one of them is like takes place in the desert, and the other one is a card of which shows, I believe, to be a peacock or a phoenix or some type of avian, and it's just over this really green area. And the middle card, right, because she organized it in a specific way. So it was the desert card, a mountain card, and a green, luscious type vibe. So all of which are nature, but nonetheless different climates and different environments, right? I don't know her name, so I guess I'll just call her Rosology. So she was just saying, actually that reminds me of another pick a card reading I did as well, where she was talking about, I believe it was the High Priestess and the Lion. I don't know much about tarot and all that shit, but she was saying that, it was kind of like those two worlds were colliding, and it's like, how do I explain? It's kind of like sometimes the lions in a high priestess world, or sometimes the high priestess is in the jungle where she shouldn't be, right? It's like there's certain energies, vibrations, and whatnot that are misplaced, to say the least, right? And that reminds me of the song Wrong Places by her, right? Because, like, in that song, she's talking about looking for love in all the wrong places, looking for us in all the wrong faces. Those are the lyrics. And I feel like oftentimes we do look into the wrong places a lot, right? And maybe that's it, right? Like looking in the wrong places, like instead of looking for something stable and sturdy and loving and caring, I'm just looking for chaos, because that's what I'm used to, that's what I've been raised with, and so on and so forth. I mean, it's almost been 19 years just living in chaos, so I don't really know much else. So it's just turned into a familiar place, right? It's like the lotus finally peeking at the top of the water or something. I don't know exactly how it grows. I just know it grows in the murky, muddy waters, right? Blue Jay just... I don't know if he's... Oh, it already left. That was cute. That was adorable. Little messengers. Literal messengers. A little birdie told me. That reminds me of Avatar The Last Airbender. They had that hawk messenger. That was cool. But wasn't that from the Fire Nation? Interesting. But yeah, I feel like sometimes we just breed chaos of which isn't actually there. We create storylines of which aren't actually existent or true or fact, because we're so used to a certain reality or way of life that when it finally comes down to the healing and having been healed, it's like, well, I don't know myself as a healed individual. I've only known myself as a wounded person. So to heal is different, right? It's kind of like, this one time I fell off my penny board and I fucked up, I just had carne viva on my elbows and my knees, and I was walking like a fucking zombie because I couldn't bend my knees. The healing process was difficult, not just the physical level, but I think the emotional distress is probably what didn't help me heal. And I think that was also in Avatar The Last Airbender. No, that was in Teen Wolf, right, where Scott McCall, it's like season 3 or something, I guess, spoiler alert if you haven't watched it. Scott McCall and, like, you know, ended up fighting the Alpha Pack, and, like, Derek supposedly died. I didn't get to finish. I kind of forgot about the shit. But whatever, like, Derek supposedly died, right? Or at least they assumed he was dead. And Scott was blaming himself for Derek dying, right? Like, despite their rough relationship, he obviously still very much cared about Derek. So he wasn't healing, not because it was a physical trauma, but because of the emotional distress it caused him to see Derek die. And for me, when I fell off the penny board, it wasn't more so the penny board or the floor that hurt or whatever. It was the fact that my friends just laughed at me while I was literally in pain, and pretty much just left me to walk home by myself. And I've never seen them the same since. And not just that, the fact that I had to take care of myself being like, I don't know, 12, 11 years old or something, while I'm literally bleeding and all that stuff, and I'm carrying a fucking backpack and a penny board, and I'm like, I don't know, like, the blocks in my hometown are so fucking long, like, it takes forever to get to your place. So it was really painful to go home and even hop on a penny board again, simply because of the emotional distress, psychological distress that took place, simply because my so-called friends just mocked me for having fallen. And one of them was like, oh, it's not my fault. Meanwhile, she was literally rushing us to go do something really fucking stupid and that I didn't want to do. And, like, I had internalized homophobia, right? And it was just a lot that was going on in middle school. So it wasn't just the fact that I fell off a penny board, which a lot of people will just focus on things like that. At least the people I've grown up with will just focus on, oh, you just fell off a penny board, get over it. No, it was emotional, psychological, as well as physical trauma that just occurred. And there's so much more beneath the surface. So that's why I really don't associate myself with people who don't see in depth and just go not even scratching the surface. I don't fuck with that energy. It's not my type. It's not my type, not my type. So yeah. But I brought that up because why did I bring it up? Oh yeah, sometimes we're not completely healing because we're so used to, like, a certain way of life or just being wounded individuals. So when it comes to actually having been a healed individual and being surrounded by individuals who don't even care to heal, it can be quite difficult because you feel like the black sheep, you feel like the ugly duckling, you know, or you feel like fucking Lilo and Stitch, and shit like that. So it's just, it can be a difficult thing to manage, and find confidence and, you know, boost your self-esteem once more and really just stand in your power again, because you've been lost for so long and you don't know better, or you do know better but you may not completely do better because, you know, it's just become a habit and a literal neural pathway in your mind to act, behave, react, respond, etc. in a certain way, to be a certain way. So literally when you're going through a healing process, you are not just healing internally, it's an external thing as well. Your body is healing as well. Also, like, the numbers 2828 popped up and 2929. So it's like there's just a lot going on in the healing process. So it can be a difficult transition and transformation to just sit in that new place of where you rightfully deserve to be. You know, having been used to toxic, abusive, etc. environments, and suddenly seeing the sun can be scary, right? It's kind of like, I don't know where that's from exactly, but I've heard like this caveman um depiction thing where like there's these individuals in a cave, and like there's a fire, and like someone's like doing little puppet shit and being like, oh, look at the, that's reality. But then they don't know anything outside of that cave, so when they go to the cave, or someone says, oh, look out here, like that's the real world, the people who have been groomed and manipulated into thinking that's reality. For example, instead of the fire and puppets, it's more so the illusion to television and overall media, whether that be the textbooks that we learn, you know, the colonizers' version of shit, the terrorist version of shit, or whether that be social media and even the music industry. Not all of it, you know, even television, but all of this shit. You know, there's always hidden symbolism within everything, and it is subconscious programming, right? Because we are more so visual learners unless we are blind, right? I don't know if they can see in a different way, but point is, um, we literally observe and absorb everything of which is around us. You know, you may not be conscious of it 24/7, or maybe you are, but point is, there's a lot of things happening all the time. And just because we're not 100% paying attention or focused on all of it at the same time, because that can be overwhelming sometimes, depending on whatever, you know, but it's still happening, and it will be brought to your awareness, right? And we are still animals at the end of the day, so we will feel when someone or something is listening or staring at us. We know when that's happening. You know, there's no reason that we just turn around for no reason. Sometimes there is a presence there, whether that be a physical 3D reality type presence or something else, something outside of that. So it's really important to just tap back into your essence and just pay attention to your energy, because sometimes we get caught up in the energies of others, especially if we've been raised in a toxic, abusive household, whether that just be verbal abuse. It's still abuse, and it's still toxic, and it's still domestic violence. Psychological abuse is abuse, verbal abuse is abuse. So yeah. So when you're so used to having been grown up in a war zone, and you're constantly looking for threats, you know, it's like a veteran coming back from war. They're gonna be scared shitless out of their mind. It's hard for them to be back in reality again, or this reality again, right? Because their version of reality was very different for who knows how long, and where, and what was going on. You know, and that's like a physical trauma as well, and obviously psychological, but nonetheless traumatic. So to come back to a safe place seems unsafe because it's unfamiliar to them, because they've been so used to being in a war zone that they no longer really have a perception of what safety is anymore. You know, it's like, safety, I don't know that. So what's kind of funny about having picked this card is like, it reminds me of like dipping your toes in the water to like test the waters out. You know, I've been the type of person to like just completely dive into the water and just jump in and like go from the hot tub to the cold, and then this and that. But then there was a point in my life where I was so afraid of existing that even the water scared me. And water's always been my thing. I love water with a passion. Like, I just love water so much. And it's funny because, like, I'm an Aries Taurus cusp, but nonetheless, I have a lot of, like, water placements, too. And we always go through all the zodiac signs anyway, but, you know, water's just always been something so important to me. Nature, all of it. You know, the sun is fire. like an Aries sign, and Taurus is an earth sign. So, and like Mother Earth is like 80 something percent water, you know. And either way, there's water in everything, right? In this apple, there's water in our bodies, there's water in just everything, even in the air. It's not just oxygen. So for people, I don't know, it's interesting how we haven't been taught the reality of everything. It's disappointing, really. Let's be real. It's disappointing. But yeah, it's like testing the waters, right? It's like getting used to this new environment, this place of which you had always seen in a certain lens, and to take off that lens after wearing them for like the past 19 years can be difficult. Or even if it was, you know, shorter than 19 years or whatever. My point just is that if you've been living a certain way for a while, or let's say you actually do have glasses or sunglasses or tinted glasses, whatever. Point is that lens will have you see things differently, literally, physically see things differently. And to take them off, you may be knocked off or feel off balance or just have like a certain, maybe I guess a breakdown, which eventually leads to a breakthrough, right? So it's like you go from one place to another and it just feels unfamiliar, so you're kind of like testing the waters. It's like you're so used to being in again, like a war zone, and then to be in a safe place is like, what is that? You know, you don't know what's gonna happen. So you're just constantly expecting the worst, even though you're in a safe place and a safe environment. And that's not to like judge or anything. It's just the reality of what has happened and could be happening. Yeah. But yeah, I should probably eat. So I'm gonna get to that. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I love you. Take care.